Crank was something that I saw in the late 80s. It was usually produced in clandestine labs, like meth labs. Often pseudoephedrine was a product that they would use to make it. When they would make it, it would come out in different colors. I do remember there was this stuff called peanut butter. It had like the substance looked like little rock forms and powder forms of peanut butter. Hello, my name is PEJ with PEJ Interventions. I am a interventionist that helps people with drug addiction, with alcoholism and mental health. I'm also a recovery coach. Today we are going to talk about different types of meth. So I'm going to talk about different types of meth based off of my knowledge base and what I've seen, because I am a former meth user. I did it for many, many years. I've been in recovery for 17 years. I used substances for 18 years, and out of those 18 years, about 15 to 16 years consisted of me using different types of meth. Now, my first experience with amphetamines was in the 80s. In the 80s, there were these things called crosstops. They were white pills that we were told were speed, and so if you translate speed to usage, it would usually be meth, right? So these things would give you high energy. I remember we had gotten them. I believe that they were very popular in the 70s and 80s, probably around the time of Seconal, Tuinal, Quaaludes, and things like that. They weren't that popular towards the end of the 80s because we then saw a different type of meth that really started to come around. And so then we went into crank. Crank was something that I saw in the late 80s. It was usually produced in clandestine labs, like meth labs. Often pseudoephedrine was a product that they would use to make it. When they would make it, it would come out in different colors. I do remember there was this stuff called peanut butter. It had like the substance looked like little rock forms and powder forms of peanut butter. Sometimes they had a pink colored one too. The coloration was different, a little more crystallized. And then there was some yellow stuff, and then even some blue stuff. Now, when we would do crank would keep you up for days. Like, it was, sometimes it would be called biker dope or jet fuel or just fuel, right? You would do, we would inhale it sometimes, just like up our nostril. It would burn like crazy burn, like to the point where you thought someone stuck a pencil all the way up in your nostril, and it would like make you go to the middle of next week. Like, you didn't have to do much of it. It definitely could do a lot of things to you. It was very euphoric and very blissful at first, but then later on, it could make you extremely erratic. It could make a lot of people go into paranoid, schizoaffective, psychosis type state, right? And so crank was extremely powerful. And then later on, people started using different types of meth. Over the years, people found you couldn't really smoke crank, but what started happening is people started washing their dope, and they would do it with acetone. They would, when they would clean their dope, it was more crystallized. A lot of the other chemicals that go into making meth, there's things like red phosphorus and many different chemicals. Some people would even say rat poison. I remember one time I was arrested and the police officer said, you're snorting stuff that has rat poison in it. And I said, so? Like, I don't even care, because I was so addicted to it. But what I saw, because I had stopped doing meth for a while, was a whole different formation of meth. And that was what they would call glass. That was the washed stuff with acetone. It was very crystallized. It looked like shards of glass. It was smokable. It would not burn your pipe, as opposed to crank, that people would not actually smoke. They more snorted it or shot it. And when it came to glass was meant to be smoked. Some people still snorted it. I snorted it at first. And then some people actually went as far as shooting it intravenously. Now, glass was really popular more in the 90s and in the 2000s. It was a whole new movement of meth. It was easily available here in Southern California. I actually got in trouble for sales of it. I was locked up for sales of it. At that time, it was extremely illegal. If you got caught with even a little bit, you're going to jail and you're going to be getting some charges. Now, there was also something else that was a more potent form that during that time that you didn't see a lot of here in Southern California as far as being distributed or used, but it was very popular in Hawaii and other parts of the country, and that would be ice. This is a higher potency as far as I knew, as in comparison to regular glass. That was something that a lot of people were more selling in other states because the profit margin was a lot more than it was around here. So you didn't see a lot of ice. These days though, however, there is a lot of ice. It is more available on a national level. Also, what's really interesting is that during the late 90s and early 2000s, meth was more popular out on the West Coast or in the states closer to the West. It didn't really hit the East Coast to my knowledge, except for maybe in New York and also in the gay community. But as far as Florida, from my knowledge base, it didn't really hit Florida until 2012. Now I know there's probably going to be some people that might have actually experienced it earlier on, but I do remember that when I was going out to, I got sober in 2007, anything before then in the late 90s when I was going back east to go do other activities or go to rave parties and things like that, I would bring meth with me out there and people said that they'd never heard of it. Please give us more of that. That's the powerful stuff. So there are many different forms of meth. You don't see crank much anymore, but usually the crank that is out there is they would call it basically dirty dope. It's it hasn't been cleaned, it hasn't been washed under acetone, it's not crystallized. It is basically meth in its original form. So if you know somebody who's struggling with methamphetamine addiction, or you yourself is struggling with it and you'd like to get off of it, you can always reach me, 310-596-9356. Would love to be able to have a conversation with you and try to see how we can help you. Also, please subscribe to this channel, PEJ Interventions, or like and share. Make comments in the comment section. We'd love to be able to hear from you.